The planet Ilyara burned under the light of 1,000 dying fires. Its once blue oceans had turned gray and the green forest had blackened to ash. The sound of distant explosions shook the thin metallic walls of the alien council chamber. Outside, the city's towers bent under the constant bombardment from enemy warships. Panic had spread through the streets like a wildfire, and the people had begun to question if any help would ever arrive. Inside the council chamber, a dozen leaders from the Planetary Federation argued in a flurry of clicks, chirps, and hums. Each had a different species, each with its own language and set of gestures. To the human eye, if there had been one, the scene would have looked like chaos. Yet these leaders had worked together for centuries, guiding their people with careful diplomacy. Today, however, diplomacy felt useless. "We cannot hold out much longer," shrieked one of the counselors, its voice a high-pitched whine that made the metal walls vibrate. "The enemy fleet surrounds us on all sides. Our defenses are failing. If we do not receive assistance, we will be destroyed within days." Another counselor, taller and smoother, with eyes that reflected light like molten silver, tried to calm the assembly. "We have sent messages. We have sent requests to nearby allies. They will come. Patience is required." "Patience?" screeched the first counselor. "Do you see what is happening outside? Entire cities are being flattened. Children, elders, even the soldiers are falling in numbers we cannot replace. We do not have the luxury of waiting." A third, smaller counselor tapped a metallic limb against the ground, sending sparks scattering. Its voice was sharper, more precise. "We must widen our call. Send to all nearby sectors. If the nearby allies are slow or unwilling, we must reach beyond. Someone, anyone, must answer our distress." A tense silence fell over the room. The counselors stared at one another, weighing the risk. Their communication channels had limits. Only certain species could receive their messages. Reaching beyond their sector could invite unknown forces, beings whose intentions were unclear. Yet the alternative, inaction, was worse. The tallest counselor finally spoke, its tone low and commanding. "Very well. Open the deep space communication channels. Broadcast our distress to all who can receive it. Let them know Ilyara is under siege. We need allies. We need warriors. Anyone willing to stand with us, respond." Immediately, a series of devices hummed to life, sending beams of coded energy pulses into the darkness of space. Each pulse carried the council's urgent message. The words themselves were carefully structured in every known galactic language. "Help us. Our planet is under attack. We cannot survive alone." As the signal expanded, a lone human scout ship drifted into the edge of the transmission range. Humans had long been whispered about in the galaxy, not as friends but as stories to scare young diplomats into behaving. They were known as the Deathworlders, humans who thrived where others could not, who turned hostile planets into training grounds, who laughed at danger as if it were a simple game. On board the ship, Captain Elena Voss studied the signal, her fingers resting lightly on the console. Her eyes were sharp, her mind faster than any program the ship carried. "Looks like someone needs a hand," she said quietly, almost to herself. Around her, the bridge crew paused, watching her. Lieutenant Merrick, a younger human, tilted his head. "You think it's a trap? Could be a trick to lure us into a battle." Elena shook her head. "Humans don't leave people to die. We answer calls when we hear them. That's the rule. Trap or not, they are in trouble, and we go." The humans aboard the scout ship had grown up on worlds that chewed up the weak. They were not heroes because they sought glory. They were heroes because they had no choice but to survive and help others. And when a call for help came, they could not ignore it. Back on Ilyara, the counselors had begun to pace. Minutes stretched into hours. One counselor, impatient and trembling, tapped its claws on the table. "Why has no one responded? Even minor civilizations would rush to save us. Why have they not answered?" Then at the edge of space, sensors on the planet's surface picked up a new signature. At first it was unclear, a flicker of light moving with strange precision. The alien fleet, weary and battered, focused its attention. The council chamber's large viewing window displayed a small silhouette in the distance. A ship. Not like theirs. Not like any ship they had encountered before. The creature who had been pacing froze. Its eyes widened. What is that? That cannot be possible." The tallest counselor leaned forward, scanning the readings. "Unknown vessel. Signature indicates. Life form is bipedal. Threat level, potentially extreme." From orbit, the human scout ship descended steadily, engines humming with controlled power. Elena Voss's voice echoed in the communications channel. Ilyara, we received your distress call. Humans have come, the counselors blinked. Humans? Whispered the smaller counselor. The Deathworlders? Yes, Elena replied. Her tone was calm, confident. We are the humans. We are here to help. Stand by for instructions. The counselors turned to each other. Fear, confusion, and awe mixed in a way they had never felt. The Deathworlders had arrived. Not as negotiators, not as diplomats, not as observers, but as warriors. One of the counselors clicked loudly, almost as if stammering. They just land. Yes, Elena said simply. We do not wait. We assess, then we act. Tell your people to follow our lead if they want to survive. The alien council scrambled to send orders down to the planetary defense forces. Soldiers looked up at the sky as the human ship touched down near the edge of the city. Unlike the alien fleet, which moved with caution, the humans exited their craft immediately, their suits gleaming with energy and utility. They carried tools, weapons, and devices that seemed to combine advanced science with raw practicality. Children hiding in ruined buildings peeked out. Soldiers blinked. Civilians whispered to one another, hoping the stories they had heard were true. The humans moved quickly, decisively. They didn't wait for permission or approval. They simply began surveying the battlefield, assessing damage, finding civilians, and preparing for what was coming. Inside the council chamber, the tallest counselor could barely contain a mix of relief and fear. They act like nothing can stop them, it muttered. Elena stepped onto the cracked streets, scanning the ruins. Explosions still echoed in the distance, but her eyes focused on what mattered most. Civilians trapped, enemy positions, and the weaknesses of the attackers. She turned to her team. Divide into squads. Secure civilians first. Then map enemy positions. And remember, she said, her voice firm but calm, we adapt to everything. Nothing will surprise us if we stay smart and fast. The aliens watching could hardly believe it. They had expected caution. They had expected diplomacy. Instead, humans were already moving, already thinking, already surviving where others would fall. Hours passed, and word of the humans' actions spread quickly across the city. They rescued trapped citizens, neutralized small enemy squads with precision, and left no one behind. Aliens tried to mimic their tactics but could not match the humans' combination of fearlessness and intelligence. By nightfall, the enemy had taken notice. Their sensors registered the humans as highly dangerous targets. The alien leaders, exhausted from the battle, could not hide their astonishment. They are unstoppable, muttered the smaller counselor, its voice shaking. I do not understand them. Elena returned to her ship briefly, reviewing her team's reports. The situation is bad, she admitted to herself, but not hopeless. They asked for allies. They got humans. And humans do not quit. As the twin moons rose over Ilyara, casting pale light on the shattered city, the aliens could only watch. The Deathworlders had arrived. They were human. They were fearless. And for the first time in days, hope began to flicker in the hearts of the people. But the enemy, sensing the shift, would not wait long. The humans were on their planet now, and the battle for Ilyara had only just begun. The sky over Ilyara was dark with smoke and fire. The alien cities below looked like scattered shards of glass, reflecting the orange glow of burning buildings. Enemy ships hovered above like vultures circling a wounded beast. For the aliens defending their planet, it was a scene of despair. Yet for the humans, it was just another battlefield, a puzzle to solve. Captain Elena Voss stood at the edge of a ruined plaza, her eyes scanning the horizon. Around her, her team moved with silent efficiency. They carried light modular weapons that could adapt to any situation. Some of her squad worked on improvised drones that hovered over the enemy lines, sending real-time data back to the humans. Others were helping civilians climb from rubble, carrying the injured with calm precision. Lieutenant Marek approached her, his expression a mix of curiosity and amazement. They're watching us, he said. The alien leaders, they can't believe what we're doing. Their soldiers are trying to follow, but they hesitate. Elena nodded. Good. Hesitation is dangerous when you're facing an enemy that thinks they control the battlefield. We don't need them to understand us yet. We just need them alive. From the council chamber, the alien leaders watched in stunned silence. The tallest counselor leaned closer to the viewing window, its metallic hands trembling slightly. They do not fear anything. They run toward the danger. A smaller counselor with eyes like polished amber whispered, and yet, they save our people as if it is the simplest task. How can they act this way? The humans did not wait for permission or recognition. They assessed the enemy positions from every angle, ground, air, and even the ruined buildings. Their scanners detected weaknesses in the attacking forces, gaps in patrols, blind spots in the defenses, and unprotected supply lines. They moved quickly, often disappearing into smoke only to reappear behind enemy squads. Elena activated a communication link to the alien command. We've identified the enemy command posts and supply hubs. If you want to survive, follow our lead. We'll neutralize the threats one by one. The alien leaders hesitated. We cannot give full control to outsiders, the silver-eyed counselor said, its voice trembling. We must supervise. Elena's response was calm but firm. There is no time for supervision. Your troops are scattered, civilians are in danger, and the enemy is relentless. We adapt, follow, or watch. The choice is yours. A murmur ran through the council chamber. Some counselors were clearly afraid. Others were frustrated. No one had seen humans before, and none could predict how they would act. The combination of confidence and sheer unpredictability was unsettling. Meanwhile, on the ground, the humans executed their plan. One squad, led by Sergeant Kira Lenz, moved through the smoke toward a key enemy communications tower. Using a combination of speed, stealth, and improvised gadgets, they disabled the tower without alerting the entire enemy fleet. The aliens nearby could hardly keep up, and many accidentally revealed themselves to enemy patrols. In another sector, a human duo climbed the side of a burning building to reach trapped civilians. While doing so, a squad of enemy soldiers appeared. Instead of retreating, the humans used the structure itself as a weapon, dropping heavy debris, creating barriers and luring the enemy into traps they had prepared moments earlier. When the aliens arrived to assist, they found the humans standing calmly among the chaos, civilians safe, and enemies incapacitated. Back at the council chamber, the leaders whispered among themselves. How can they move through such danger and still succeed? One counselor asked. They are not ordinary beings, another replied. Their movements, their decisions, they defy our understanding of strategy. Elena, observing from her ship's sensors, noted the alien soldiers' hesitation. It was expected. Few species had ever encountered humans up close. Don't wait for approval, she told her team. Take the initiative. Make the first strike where it matters most. The humans moved swiftly. Using a combination of drones, sensors, and small, highly mobile units, they identified the enemy's supply depot hidden in a canyon outside the city. It was heavily guarded, but the humans did not approach with brute force. Instead, they used the terrain to their advantage. Rocks and debris were carefully displaced to create distractions, traps, and cover for the humans to approach unseen. Lieutenant Merrick grinned as he activated a small energy pulse device. Watch this. They won't see it coming. The device emitted a short, sharp burst of energy, temporarily disabling enemy sensors. Within seconds, humans had moved behind the enemy lines, sabotaging supply units and securing prisoners. Explosions rang out, but they were controlled, precise, and calculated. Civilians and alien soldiers watched in awe. From the enemy's perspective, the humans were ghosts. They appeared in one location, vanished, and then struck somewhere entirely unexpected. No command could keep up. No strategy could anticipate them. In the council chamber, the silver-eyed counselor whispered almost to itself, "They are not just warriors. They are predators, and yet they do not harm those who are innocent." Elena and her team regrouped near the city's central plaza as night fell. The streets were still dangerous, but human squads had already cleared significant zones, rescued dozens of civilians, and neutralized enemy squads that had terrorized the city for hours. She checked her communicator. Status? Civilians secured, Sergeant Kira replied. Enemy patrols confused and scattered. The supply depot is destroyed. The aliens. They are trying to keep up, but most are hiding behind our movements. Elena nodded. Good, that's exactly how it should be. Keep pushing. Make them adapt, make them fear, but never underestimate them. They need to understand humans are not normal allies. They are a force of nature. In the alien council chamber, a low hum of conversation filled the room. Some counselors were still frightened. Some were beginning to feel hope. One counselor, smaller and more cautious than the rest, finally said, Perhaps we have underestimated what it means to call for help. We did not expect this. Power. This. Courage. Another counselor added, We invited allies. But these are not allies we know. They are different. Something else entirely. As the night deepened, the humans continued their operations, moving like shadows among the ruins. They did not boast. They did not seek reward. They only acted with precision, courage, and an unwavering will to survive and protect others. In one alley, Elena paused to help a small group of alien children climb from the rubble. One of them, a bright-eyed child with silver scales, looked up at her and whispered, Are you really going to fight them all? Elena smiled, a small reassuring curve of her lips. We will do everything we can. Don't worry, humans. We never leave anyone behind. The child nodded, gripping her hand tightly. For the first time in days, the city's inhabitants felt hope rising like a fragile flame. But danger was far from over. From orbit, enemy ships adjusted their formations, responding to the humans' actions. They had never faced an enemy like this, one that adapted, predicted, and attacked with unmatched creativity. They did not understand humans, and that lack of understanding would soon prove costly. Back at the human scout ship, Elena looked at the tactical map, her eyes narrowing. We've done well tonight, but this is only the beginning. The enemy will not give up easily. Tomorrow we strike where it hurts the most. The city, the supply lines, their command centers. We hit them all. We adapt, we survive. And we win. Lieutenant Merrick leaned over her shoulder, curiosity and awe in his eyes. Do they even know who they're dealing with? Elena shook her head slightly, a small grin forming. No, and that is exactly how it should be. They will learn soon enough. Humans don't just fight. Humans survive, adapt, and turn the impossible into reality. As the stars shone above the smoldering planet, the aliens could only watch. The humans had arrived. They were fast, fearless, and utterly unpredictable. And for the first time in days, the defenders of Ilyara felt something they had almost forgotten. Hope, powered by the presence of beings unlike any they had ever known. The night was long. The fires still burned, but the humans had made one thing clear. They had come not to negotiate, not to observe, but to fight and protect. And in a world on the brink of destruction, that was the most dangerous and the most inspiring thing the enemy could face. The morning sun barely pierced the smoke-filled skies over Ilyara. The alien cities lay in ruins, their towers shattered, streets cracked, and citizens still struggling to recover from the night's attacks. Yet in the midst of despair, a new energy ran through the city. Humans. They moved like predators, confident and relentless, reshaping the battlefield in ways the alien defenders could hardly comprehend. Captain Elena Voss stood atop a broken tower, observing the enemy encampment scattered through the valley. Her eyes were calm, analytical, scanning every detail. Around her, her squads were already in motion, splitting into smaller units, each with a clear task: neutralize threats, secure civilians, and gather intelligence. Every human acted with purpose. Lieutenant Merrick approached, carrying a small glowing device. We've spotted enemy reinforcements approaching from the eastern ridge. They're moving slower than expected, but they're heavily armed. Elena nodded. Good. That means they don't know we're here yet. We'll make them wish they never left their ships. She didn't laugh or boast. Her tone was calm, almost casual. But her words carried the weight of confidence the aliens could feel even from a distance. The Alien Council, watching through their surveillance networks, had already begun to murmur among themselves. How can they act with such certainty? One whispered. They are not afraid of our attackers. They seem almost untouchable. Elena split her team into 3 squads. One would create distractions, drawing enemy attention. Another would disable weapons and supply caches. The third would protect civilians and evacuate them to safer zones. Every move was planned, but the humans left room for improvisation. That unpredictability was part of what made them so effective. Sergeant Kira Lenz led the distraction team. They moved through the valleys using smoke, mirrors, and small explosives to simulate larger forces. Enemy patrols diverted, unsure where the humans were. While the aliens nearby hesitated, unsure of how to respond, the humans struck with precision, taking out critical squads in ways the enemy could not anticipate. Meanwhile, a duo of humans climbed a ruined skyscraper, their movements fluid and silent. One carried a small drone, which hovered near the enemy's observation point, relaying live data to the humans below. With a series of careful manipulations, they triggered a chain reaction of devices, collapsing a bridge used by the enemy supply line. Trucks, supplies, and soldiers tumbled down the canyon, destroyed or trapped, with no human lives lost. The aliens watching were speechless. How do they think like this?" muttered a counselor. "Their methods, they are impossible to predict," Elena and her squad continued. Humans were not only fighting, they were teaching by example. Alien soldiers who followed them began to understand basic survival tactics. How to move under fire, how to use the terrain, how to strike without being seen. Some aliens tried to imitate, but their movements were hesitant and rigid compared to the humans' fluid confidence. In one sector, Merrick and his squad encountered a group of enemy snipers hidden on a ridge. Instead of rushing in, they used mirrors to reflect sunlight, blinding the snipers temporarily. Then, with precise energy pulses, they disabled their weapons. By the time the alien soldiers arrived to assist, the enemy was neutralized with almost no risk to the civilians nearby. Back at the alien council chamber, whispers of admiration mixed with fear. "They do not simply attack," one counselor said. "They manipulate the battlefield itself. They turn our enemy's strength against them. They are not just fighters," another added. "They are forces of nature." Elena's team moved swiftly from one critical location to another. In one abandoned district, civilians trapped by debris were freed by humans using makeshift levers and pulleys, a technique that combined physics with raw ingenuity. The aliens watching could not understand why humans would risk themselves for others, yet the humans acted as if saving lives was natural, inevitable. Hours passed, and the enemy grew frustrated. They could not predict the humans' movements. They struck one place, only to find humans already elsewhere, dismantling their supply lines or saving civilians. Panic began to ripple through their ranks. Their leaders communicated frantically, sending squads that were consistently outmaneuvered. Elena signaled her squads to converge near the central command post of the enemy forces. "This is it," she said. "The moment where we show them why humans are not like any other species they've faced. Adapt, move fast, think harder than they do." The humans advanced through the crumbling streets using improvised barricades and debris to shield themselves. Alien soldiers, finally learning from their human allies, followed cautiously. When they reached the enemy command center, the humans struck with a combination of speed, precision, and surprise. They disabled energy shields, neutralized guards, and secured critical intelligence, all in less than 20 minutes. From the alien council chamber, the tallest counselor leaned forward, eyes wide. They have taken the command center. Without heavy losses, how is that possible?" Elena watched from her elevated position as the humans systematically dismantled enemy control points. They were not reckless, they were fearless, intelligent, and relentless. Their presence changed the battle entirely. In one daring move, Sergeant Kira's squad used the terrain itself as a weapon. They caused controlled landslides that blocked enemy reinforcements from reaching the city. Alien soldiers who witnessed it gasped. "They can control the land, and the enemy falls as if caught in a trap," one whispered. Elena's team regrouped in the plaza. Civilians were safe. Enemy forces scattered, and alien soldiers now regarded the humans with a mixture of respect and awe. "This is only the beginning," Elena said. "The enemy still thinks they can fight us, but they are already beaten in spirit. We just need to finish the job." The aliens began to understand the humans' unique combination of traits: courage, adaptability, and ingenuity. Unlike any species they had known, humans thrived in danger. They did not rely on brute force alone. They did not panic under pressure. They turned every obstacle into an advantage. Even the younger alien soldiers who had spent their lives learning conventional strategies were inspired. Some began to imitate human tactics, small squads using debris for cover, adopting human timing for attacks, or prioritizing civilian safety alongside combat. The humans were not only fighting, they were reshaping the aliens' understanding of warfare itself. As the sun began to set over Ilyara, the alien council could not hide their astonishment. "They are teaching us while fighting, one counselor whispered. We asked for allies. We received something we never imagined. Elena watched the horizon, already planning the next moves. We've shown them what humans can do. Tomorrow we push further. We will hit supply lines, sabotage enemy defenses, and force them into a position they cannot recover from. Adapt, survive, win. The aliens could only follow as best they could. Every step the humans took was unpredictable, effective, and bold. By the end of the day, the enemy was in disarray. Their communication networks disrupted, supply lines destroyed, and morale shattered. They began to retreat. Yet the humans did not chase recklessly. Instead, they secured civilians, stabilized defenses, and prepared for the next wave, leaving the aliens both grateful and astonished. The city slept uneasily that night, but hope had returned. Humans were not simply warriors, they were Deathworlders, beings who thrived where others failed, who acted with intelligence, courage, and an unshakable will. And for the first time, the Alien Council realized that calling humans to Ilyara had been both terrifying and miraculous. Elena stood atop a tower again, looking over the city and the recovering civilians. This is what it means to fight for more than survival, she said quietly. We adapt, we survive, we protect, and we win. That is what it means to be human. As stars appeared in the night sky, the enemy forces regrouped far from the city, trying to understand what had happened. They could not predict humans. They could not fight humans on equal terms. And in the shadows of the ruined city, the humans rested only briefly, knowing the battle was not over, but ready to face whatever came next. The aliens had wanted allies. They had received humans, and already, they could see that nothing would ever be the same again. Dawn broke over Ilyara with a sky streaked in red and gold, the remnants of last night's fires still smoldering across the cities. The air was thick with smoke and dust, carrying the scent of metal and ash. From the tallest tower in the capital, Captain Elena Voss observed the enemy positions. Today would be decisive. Today, the humans would strike at the heart of the invading forces. Around her, the human squads moved with calm precision. No one hesitated. Every soldier, every technician, every scout knew their role, yet they were free to adapt, to make choices in the moment. That freedom, coupled with discipline, made them unpredictable and deadly. Lieutenant Merrick approached, scanning the tactical display. Enemy reinforcements have concentrated around their main base, he said. They're heavily armed and have set up barricades. It's going to be a tough fight, Elena nodded. Good. Tough fights are where humans shine. We adapt, we improvise, and we survive. That is what makes the difference. Meanwhile, in the Alien Council chamber, the leaders watched with a mixture of awe and fear. They do not hesitate, whispered one counselor. They act as if the impossible is nothing. They are not like any ally we have ever known, another replied. They do not follow our rules, yet their results, they speak for themselves. The humans advanced in 3 coordinated groups. One would move through the open plains to draw enemy attention. Another would flank from the ruined city streets using debris and shadows for cover. The third, led by Elena herself, would infiltrate the enemy base from a hidden canyon, a route the aliens never would have considered safe. The enemy noticed the first human squad immediately. Soldiers raised their weapons and fired, but the humans did not panic. Using small portable shields and quick dashes, they moved like shadows across the battlefield, creating confusion. Explosions erupted, but always controlled, always precise. Enemy troops were struck from unexpected angles, their formations collapsing in seconds. Sergeant Kira Lenz led the flanking squad through the city streets. They used rooftops, broken buildings, and improvised barricades to approach the enemy base unnoticed. Civilians trapped in the city were quickly evacuated. Alien soldiers followed at a distance, trying to keep up, often astonished by the humans' fearless movements. Elena and her infiltration team reached the canyon that led directly to the enemy command center. She scanned the terrain carefully. They think this path is impassable, she said quietly. They won't see us coming. Merrick looked at her. Are we really going through there? It looks dangerous, Elena smiled faintly. Danger is our playground. Remember that. The canyon was narrow and jagged, filled with loose rocks and hidden traps, but the humans moved with careful steps, testing surfaces, using grappling tools and climbing gear. They avoided enemy sensors and patrols, reaching the base undetected. Once in position, they signaled the flanking and distraction squads. The humans struck simultaneously. Sergeant Kira's squad triggered a controlled demolition in the enemy outer defenses, creating confusion and panic. Explosions and smoke forced the enemy to focus on the wrong locations, while the humans in the canyon moved directly toward the command center. Inside the enemy base, alarms blared. Soldiers scrambled, but humans were already inside, neutralizing guards with quick, precise strikes. Energy shields were disabled with portable pulse devices. Doors were unlocked or bypassed with tools that no alien had ever seen. The command center was theirs in minutes. From the city streets, the alien defenders watched, mouths agape. They had called humans for help, but now they understood what they had truly invited. These were not normal allies. These were forces of nature. Elena activated a communication link to the alien council. Your enemy is scattered and disoriented. Focus on defending civilians, but trust us to neutralize the command points. They won't see us coming, and we will control the battlefield. The counselors whispered to one another. They lead while teaching us. We thought we would lead them, but instead they show us how to fight. The humans moved deeper into the enemy base. Every hallway, every room was treated with caution and ingenuity. Traps were disarmed, prisoners were freed, and critical data was secured. They adapted to every obstacle, using whatever was at hand, metal, wiring, and even the environment itself to their advantage. Outside, Sergeant Kira's squad engaged remaining enemy forces. They did not charge blindly. Instead, they used the terrain, collapsing walls and sending debris onto enemy positions. Alien soldiers following them could hardly keep up, both in movement and understanding. How do they think like this? One whispered. Elena's team reached the main control room. The enemy commander, realizing the humans were inside, tried to coordinate a counterattack, but it was too late. Humans had already disabled communications, blocked reinforcements, and trapped key personnel. Within minutes, the enemy commander surrendered, stunned by the efficiency and skill of the humans. From the council chamber, the alien leaders could only watch in awe. They did it, said one counselor, voice shaking. They have taken the command center without heavy loss. They are unstoppable. Elena's team regrouped outside the command center. We've neutralized the base, she reported. Enemy forces are scattered. The city is secure. Now we stabilize the defenses and prepare for any counterattack. That's the human way. Adapt, survive, and protect. The aliens, finally beginning to understand, whispered among themselves. They fight differently. They win differently. They are not like any other beings we have met. But the humans did not pause. Even with victory so close, they continued to patrol the city, secure civilians, and assist the alien soldiers. They moved calmly, efficiently, as if this was simply another day in the field. Yet every action reinforced a truth the aliens would never forget. Humans are relentless, unpredictable, and unyielding. As evening fell, the enemy's remaining forces had retreated beyond the city. The humans had forced them into a defensive posture from which they could not recover easily. Civilians began to emerge from hiding, slowly moving toward areas now considered safe. Children waved at the humans, their faces lighting up with smiles for the first time in days. Elena looked over the city, a faint smile forming. We've done well, she said quietly. But this is only one battle. The enemy will regroup. Other threats are out there, and they will not wait for us to be ready. We adapt, we survive, and we are always ready for what comes next. In the council chamber, the tallest counselor finally spoke. We asked for allies, it said, voice low and reverent. We received humans, and now we see they are more than we could imagine. They are a force beyond our understanding. A younger counselor, still trembling, added, We will never underestimate them again. We can only follow and hope we learn quickly. The humans did not boast, did not celebrate loudly. They simply continued their work, securing the city, assisting civilians, and preparing for the inevitable return of the enemy. They moved as if this was routine, but every action demonstrated courage, intelligence, and unyielding determination. As stars appeared in the sky, the alien council could only marvel. They had called humans to aid them, expecting allies. What they received were Deathworlders, beings who thrived where others could not, who turned impossible situations into victories, and who taught courage and survival simply by acting. Elena stood atop the central plaza one last time before the night fully fell. Civilians were safe. Alien soldiers had learned lessons they would never forget. Enemy forces were in disarray, and humans had proven once again why they were feared, respected, and admired across the galaxy. Tomorrow, Elena said softly, we continue. But tonight they remember who humans are. We fight not because we want glory, but because it is what must be done. That is our way. That is the Deathworlder way. And far across the galaxy in the shadows of space, other civilizations would soon begin to whisper of the humans on Ilyara, the ones who turned the tide of battle with courage, intelligence, and the kind of fearlessness no enemy could predict. The morning after the final assault was quiet, almost eerily so. The fires from the previous battles had begun to die down, leaving only smoke drifting across the battered city of Ilyara. Streets were cracked and towers lay in ruins, but the people were alive. Civilians emerged cautiously from their hiding places, blinking at the sunlight, and taking stock of the destruction that had become their world. Captain Elena Voss stood at the edge of the main plaza, watching her team as they moved among the survivors. Humans were everywhere, not as conquerors, not as rulers, but as protectors. They helped clear debris, set up temporary shelters, and distributed supplies to civilians. Their calm, methodical actions spoke louder than words. They did not need to claim glory. They simply acted, and the city began to feel safe again. Lieutenant Marique approached, handing her a small data tablet. Status report. Enemy remnants are retreating beyond the planetary perimeter. Civilians accounted for. Alien defense squads are reorganizing and beginning patrols again. Elena nodded. Good. Let them take control now. Our job was to give them a chance to survive, to show them the way humans operate. We do not rule. We guide and protect, then we move on. In the Alien Council chamber, the leaders gathered to assess the situation. Their voices, once filled with panic and fear, now carried awe and reverence. We asked for allies, said the tallest counselor, its hands folded, eyes shining with new respect. We received something far beyond our understanding. Humans. They are unlike anything we imagined. A younger counselor, still trembling from the battle, added, they do not fight for power or control. They fight for survival and protection, and they win. Always they find a way to win. Across the city, human squads continued their work. Sergeant Kira Lenz and her team guided alien soldiers in clearing streets, teaching them how to adapt to the battlefield. What the humans demonstrated was not just physical skill, it was thinking differently, moving unpredictably and surviving where others could not. Alien soldiers watched and learned, realizing that even the smallest human squads could change the course of battle. In the center of the plaza, a group of civilians gathered, pointing out where humans had saved them. Children waved shyly, some running to embrace the humans who had risked themselves to pull them from rubble or protect them from stray enemy attacks. The Alien Council observed this, noting how humans cared deeply for others even while engaged in combat. Elena noticed one group of children and smiled softly. They have to see hope, she said quietly to Merrick. That is as important as any victory we achieve. The Alien Council decided to meet with the humans. They approached cautiously, aware of the immense reputation humans held. Elena greeted them with a simple nod. There were no grand speeches, no gestures of power. She let the results speak for themselves. The city was safe, civilians were unharmed, and the enemy had been forced to retreat. The tallest counselor finally spoke. We asked for allies, fearing our destruction. What we received is far beyond our expectations. You humans, you are extraordinary. Elena inclined her head. We are not extraordinary. We survive, we adapt. We help when we can. That is all any human can do. A smaller counselor, more cautious, asked, will you stay? Will humans remain on Ilyara to protect us? Elena shook her head. We came because we heard a call for help. Now that you can defend yourselves, our presence is no longer required. Humans act when needed, but we do not stay to rule or interfere. We leave, and we hope that what we taught helps you survive. The counselors were silent for a moment, taking in the humility and confidence of the humans. We have much to learn from you, said one elder counselor. Your tactics, your courage, it is unlike anything in our experience. You have earned our respect, and more than that, you have changed how we view survival and warfare. As the sun reached its peak, Humans prepared to depart. They had spent days reshaping the battlefield, teaching alien soldiers, rescuing civilians, and neutralizing enemy forces. Their presence had saved thousands of lives and turned despair into hope. Elena gathered her team for a final briefing. We did what we came to do. The planet is safe, the civilians are protected, and the enemy has been defeated for now. Remember, humans adapt, survive, and protect. That is who we are. Never forget it, Lieutenant Merrick grinned. Do you think they'll ever forget us? Elena allowed herself a small smile. They will not forget, but they will respect what humans can do and the lessons we leave behind. That is enough. The humans boarded their ship, a sleek vessel that reflected the light of the sun. As it lifted off, alien soldiers and civilians watched, feeling a mix of gratitude and awe. They had called for allies, expecting help. What they received was something greater. Humans whose courage, intelligence, and adaptability had saved their world. From orbit, Elena looked down at the city one last time. Smoke still rose from ruins, but life had returned to the streets. Children played cautiously among debris. Soldiers patrolled with renewed confidence, and the alien leaders held council with a new understanding of strategy and survival. A young counselor spoke softly to the elders. They are not like any ally we could have imagined. Humans. They are beyond our understanding. Yes, replied the tallest counselor. They are a force unlike any we have faced. We can only hope to learn from them and apply what they have shown us. Today, humans have earned more than respect. They have earned our trust and our admiration. Elena activated the ship's engines. The craft glowed softly, rising into the sky. The humans did not linger for praise or recognition. Their work was complete. They had answered the call for help, and now it was time to move on. Ready for the next signal, the next battle, the next opportunity to act. As the ship disappeared into the horizon, alien children waved, civilians cheered quietly, and soldiers saluted. The counselors stood in solemn appreciation, fully aware that their world had been forever changed. Humans had arrived, fought with unmatched skill and courage, and left lessons that would endure far longer than any physical victory. For the aliens, one truth was now clear. Humans were not just warriors, they were Deathworlders, beings capable of surviving the impossible, adapting to any challenge and teaching others to do the same. They were allies in the truest sense, but also something far more powerful, symbols of courage, ingenuity, and hope. Elena and her crew traveled beyond Ilyara, disappearing among the stars. They did not seek fame, nor did they boast of their accomplishments. They simply moved on, always ready to answer the next call for help, to act where others could not, and to remind the galaxy that humans were not just survivors. They were extraordinary in ways that could not be predicted or controlled. On Ilyara, life slowly returned to a fragile normal. Cities were rebuilt, lessons were learned, and the alien leaders continued to speak of the humans in awe. We asked for allies, one counselor said softly, looking toward the sky. We got humans, and they have changed everything. And so the story of the Deathworlders spread across Ilyara and beyond, a story of courage, strategy, and humanity. A story of beings who answered a call for help and, in doing so, forever altered the way the galaxy would see humans. Hope, once almost lost, now burned brightly on the battered planet. And for the first time in many cycles, the aliens of Ilyara knew that as long as humans existed, no enemy could ever truly destroy them.